Please join with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, for the republic for which it, excuse me, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. I can't even think today. Guys, I have completely lost my mind. It's been one of those days. Somebody else want to do it because I can't even think. My apologies.
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Shankar. Didn't even sound right. Even when you said it, it didn't sound right. Didn't sound like you said it the right way, even though I know you did. All right. Apologies, guys.
No problem.
All right. So I have that Laura is going to be the Toastmaster today. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
All right. I will go ahead and turn it over to you now, Miss Laura. Let you see what you can do to fill some roles, and then we will move forward. Miss Laura Sanchez, take it away.
Okay, thank you. My role today as a Toastmaster is to ensure that we follow our agenda and to introduce all of our meeting roles and speakers. I'm just identifying that we have one speaker scheduled for this evening, which is Craig Sprout. And so we would need one additional evaluator. We have a general evaluator, and so we need someone to fill the role to evaluate Craig on his speech. So do we have anyone that's willing to take on that role this evening? I would do it myself, but I'm already scheduled to be timer in addition to Toastmaster. I'm not sure I could juggle all three at the same time.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do it.
Okay, thank you, Harlan. I appreciate that. So now I will introduce all of our members with their roles and ask you to briefly describe your role in the meeting. So first, Harlan, in addition to being the first evaluator, you are scheduled to be our WAG this evening.
Yes, ma'am. All right. As the WAG, I will first give you your word of the day, and then I will go ahead and tell you about all the other things that I do. But today's word is copious. That is C-O-P-I-O-U-S. Copious is in abundance. It is plentiful, ample. Therefore, if I use it in a sentence, it is to be sure she did not miss anything. Andrea took copious notes during the class time. Therefore, Andrea took abundant amount of notes to make sure that she was on point. Copious is the word of the day. So try to figure out how you can add that into your speech or just your regular talk today and get points every time you say copious in the proper framework. That is another thing that I will be doing, is making sure that we use the English language properly. Looking for any us, ahs, so's, or filler words that don't belong there. We do this to help us speak better, to help us to be better heard, because many times those little things will keep someone from understanding you. They get caught up so much on your pauses or your ums that they get distracted, and therefore they're not listening to what you have to say, and you cannot get your point across effectively. I'll be looking for all of those things today, and will give my report at the end of the meeting. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Harlan. I appreciate that. And now I will transition over to Shankar, who is scheduled to be our general evaluator this evening. So Shankar, could you please describe your role and then introduce your additional evaluators?
Absolutely. Thank you, Laura. As the general evaluator, I will keep an eye on the flow of the meeting. I will also look for things we do well and for things that we can improve on. Later in the meeting, I will take us through the evaluation part of a Toastmasters agenda, where I am assisted by different people of the evaluation team. That will be today the first evaluator, Harlan Pickett, and the timer, Laura Sanchez, and the WAG, Harlan Pickett. So we have a few duplicate roles going on here today. And I give it back to our Toastmasters of the night, Laura Sanchez.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Shankar. And it is my privilege at this point to introduce our first speaker this evening, our very seasoned Toastmaster, Mr. Craig Sprout, who will be speaking to us on knowing your sense of humor. And Craig, could you just verify for me the time allotted for the speech you're giving this evening?
It is, as per usual, a 5 to 7 minute speech.
Okay, great. Thank you. And just to verify for you, Craig, I'll be using the red, green, and yellow backgrounds on my Zoom to indicate the 5, 6, and 7 minute marks for your speech.
Outstanding.
And you can begin whenever you are ready.
Welcome to season 2 of 2020. You gotta hand it to the writers. They left us in a cliffhanger. 2021 is off to a bang up start. Now, in our time of post-COVID, we're still hunkered down. We're still social distancing. And for me, this home is getting very, very, very small. My world feels like it's getting very, very small. And with that, I have to look around for sources of inspiration. What are the things that inspire me? What are the things that keep me going? And what are the things I can learn from? Who can I learn from? Who do we look up to? Athletes? Narcissistic football players taking TikTok videos on the 50-yard lines? No, that's not someone who inspires. That's a show off. Do we look to our elected leaders for inspiration? Goodness gracious, no. All that is bickering and bickering and more bickering and just divisiveness and anger on all quarters. That's out. Do we look to actors for inspiration? Well, only if you find inspiration in vapidity and empty quotes. There are copious amounts of empty-headed, thoughtless quotes and thoughts floating around for everywhere on the internet. So where do you find inspiration? This winter, my daughter, my 22-year-old daughter, decided it was time for her to foster some kittens. She works for the Humane Society in New Braunfels. And so she decided to bring home 2 kittens to foster. One was a little gray tabby cat. Now, you can find little gray tabby cats everywhere, and gray tabby cats are all the same wherever you go. But she also brought home this little white kitten with heterochromatic eyes. She's got one blue eye and one brown eye. That kitten is a holy terror. She has copious personality. She will and has destroyed every square inch of this house. Christmas tree, gone. Christmas lights on the hutch, gone. The garland on top of the roll top desk with the pretty lights strung around it and the American flag right in the middle, gone. She figured out how to knock the flag down on the candle on top of the desk and then the domino effect, clear the top of the desk in one fell swoop. That cat, that kitten, is 2 pounds of instruction, a royal pain in the ass, but she is also the strangest source of inspiration. And I'm going to tell you why. Of course, I'm going to tell you why. Why would I be giving this speech? First of all, as you may know or may not know, white cats with heterochromatic eyes have a high probability of being deaf. And this kitten, whose name is Vulpix, is deaf as a post. You can run a vacuum cleaner right over the top of her with a snoot going off on full alert, and the cat does not even wake up. It does not bother her a bit. So she's deaf, and that is a strike against her. Do you think that stops her? No, sir, it does not. She gets into everything. She is curious. She wants to know what's going on. That is how we should all be. We should be curious. We should be curious about the world around us. We should be curious about the people we know, their stories. We should be curious as to how things work. We should be curious as to, when I cook a dish, why do these ingredients go in? Why do we cook it this way? Curiosity is what builds your mind and keeps you growing and keeps you interested. Kat is even so curious, she's discovered what's in the bottom of the toilet and what's in the bottom of the garbage can. Now, those are discoveries I wouldn't care to make on my own, but it certainly is inspiring for her to watch her go through her journey of kitten growth as she learns to be curious about everything, and also how she's going to lose. She's already lost 3 of her 9 lives, I'm pretty sure. The second thing this kitten does is, since she's deaf, she does not take sounds as cues. When the other cats growl at her or hiss at her, she has no clue what they mean. She doesn't get it. When the dogs kind of try to shy away from her, she doesn't understand. But you know what? I have caught that kitten on multiple occasions loving on the dogs. And you know how a cat loves on a person or another cat. It's all the chin, it's in the face, it's on the side. And you've never seen anything more confused than an 80-pound snoot with a cat loving up on it. And the cat and the snoot are best friends. That cat decided from day one that the snoot was going to be her best friend. And off they go. That kitten also, she'll cuddle up with the snoot, and she'll cuddle up with the old dog. The old dog's about 135 pounds of huge dog and should scare the living bejeebers out of a little 2-pound kitten, but nope, that kitten is utterly fearless. It's another way to be, is fearless. In 2021, try to be fearless like Vulpix. If you see a big strange thing that you want to be friends with, go try to be friends with it. What's the worst that could happen? They tell you no or go slinking away. And there's nothing like seeing a 135-pound dog slinking away from a 2-pound kitten. But he's getting there because she cornered him on the couch one day and cuddled him whether he liked it or not. And the final little inspiration I get from that kitten is just to be friendly and try to spread as much love, as much kindness as you can, even when someone doesn't want it. Even when you're being a total pain in the rooster, all you have to do is show copious amounts of love, a little bit of charm, and sometimes be a little bit silly. And that is how a 2-pound kitten is my inspiration so far for 2021 or 2020 season 2. Fellow Toastmasters. We can't hear you, Laura.
Oh, I apologize. I was muted twice. Thank you very much for your speech, Craig. I really appreciate animal-themed speeches. They are my favorite. I also am going to move directly to the timers report as we don't have a second speaker on the agenda for this evening. And so for the timers report, I have you at 6 minutes and 35 seconds for your speech approximately. I had a little bit of a challenge with my timer at the very beginning, but that is as accurate as I can get with the time for your speech. So thank you for that. And now we
Laura,
will, yes.
I would like to give a impromptu speech.
Okay. So then I will introduce Shankar Poncelet as our second speaker. And what will be the time frame for your speech, Shankar?
Let's go with the standard time, 5 to 7.
5 to 7. Okay. Then let me just get set up for that. Okay, you can begin whenever you are ready.
Okay. Dear Toastmasters, dear guests, I think a lot about the future. I think about how I can make the best of the future, and also how I can set myself and others up for success in the future. I have recently started a YouTube channel and I need a lot of ideas. The point of the YouTube channel is to help myself and others show a path towards a very wealthy lifestyle. And in a future edition, I will talk about why I aim to be wealthy. But for now, I want to focus on trends. Trends that I identify in these tumultuous times, because whenever you can identify a trend a little bit ahead of time, you tap into copious amounts of potential to be on the upside. One of the trends that I am observing is, as everything in life goes in cycles, we seem to be on a trend towards accepting very socially or socialistically mindset type of culture. The acceptance of stimulus checks is just one of the examples that lets us know that people are willing to have the government take care of us. So what does that mean for someone who's looking for trends? Well, whenever you have a socially minded government, there is a need for crowd control, because when the government invests in its people, it wants to make sure that people stay on the right track. What is crowd control nowadays? It is the ability to track and to some degree influence people, and that in these times, my dear friends, is social media, because social media is not only there for our entertainment, but it also has the ability to influence how we think and to measure how we think and how we speak. Furthermore, I'm thinking about technology that tracks our every movement, literally every movement, with our physical bodies, but also with our health. I'm thinking about chips that we accept in our phones to see whether we have been exposed to someone else that may have had or had contracted COVID in the past. And I'm also thinking about ways where we can predict our behavior, or the government can predict our behavior by manipulating or by combining all the data that is available about the citizens of this country. That is one big trend. The other one that I want to put emphasis on is the fact that there's a move towards more location independence because of this push towards a virtual way of living and working. And what does that mean for real estate, and what does that mean for employers and employees? Is the value of a property in a downtown area going to be guaranteed in the future? Is an office space going to be guaranteed to be filled with employees, or will companies have to accept a more flexible and decentralized way of working? Coupled to the COVID pandemic is also a fear of proximity that has been instilled into everyone and has to live on, or will probably live on in future generations that grow up with this fear of proximity. What does that mean for our social interactions? You all know we are social beings, but we have entered a time where social interaction is dangerous. And I predict that there is no other way than to cope with this than to take it towards artificial intelligence, augmented reality, and also virtual reality. Now, I have outlined these three fields: crowd control, location independence, and fear of proximity, that I predict will be trends in the future. Now, I want you to think about how can you take that knowledge and harness it to either invest into technologies that support these trends, or to put your career in a direction where those trends can be the wind in your back that leads you to copious opportunities. Thank you so very much, dear Toastmasters.
Thank you, Shankar. And now I will move to another timers report, since we did the first timers report prior to your speech. And I have you timed at 6 minutes and 52 seconds for your impromptu speech. Now I will move on to introduce our table topics master for the evening, who is Miss Andrea Ferguson. Andrea, can you please introduce your role and your topics for this evening?
Thank you very much. Dear Toastmasters and guests watching, my name is Andrea Ferguson, and I am your table topics master of the evening. With 2021 having just arrived, we're all at that place where we are going to make our New Year's resolutions. The whole idea of table topics is that this would be an impromptu portion of the meeting. So each person will have to answer a prompt related to the topic, New Year's or resolution, specifically in goal making. And you will have between 1 and 2 minutes to answer the prompt or the question. At 1 minute, you will have met your minimum, so you'll receive a green light. 1 minute and 30 seconds, yellow, and 2 minutes will be red. So you'll know that you've met your maximum. The first prompt that I have is my favorite thing to ask myself. Every single year, I ask myself the same question. And now I will extend it to you. If you could have anything, be anything, or do anything with no limits, not time, not money, nothing, what would it be? Shankar.
That is a very easy question for me to answer, dear Madam Table Topics Master, because I think about it so often. It is almost unbelievable to me how much drive I have when it comes to acquiring knowledge and combining different fields of knowledge so that they form a web of a mind model, and then applying that knowledge to my life so that I can build something that is of value and use to the community. One problem with this love for knowledge and love for doing things in all the fields is that you quickly realize that there is not enough time in a lifespan to go through it. And believe it or not, dear Toastmasters, I am 38, but sometimes I find myself complaining about the idea in my head that I will at some point pass, and I'm worried that I will not have had enough time to explore all the thirst of knowledge and experience that I feel so deeply in my heart. Hence, if I had the chance to be anything, do anything, have anything, I would immediately opt for a copious amount of lifetime energy, basically be immortal. And I would want to start at time in space 0, where everything begins, and stay on this planet for as long as there is life here. That is what I would do, Miss Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Shankar, for that very eclectic answer that I did not expect. With your copious amounts of time, newfound time, with, I guess you are going to become a vampire in 2021. So I will have to watch my neck, I see, these days. Now, continuing on with our passion roadmap, these questions will maybe tie into the next question. I trust everyone has thought about if they could have anything, be anything, or do anything, what they would do. Now it's time to take the top 3 that would impact your life the most and tell us what they are as a wish list. What are those top 3 things? If you could have anything, be anything, or do anything. Time is not an object. Money is not an object. Heck, apparently we can even be vampires. So what would it be? Those 3 things that would impact your life the most.
All right, I'll go ahead and answer this one. The 3 things I believe that would impact my life the most at this point is, number 1, I would desire a complete cure and riddance of COVID-19. Therefore, there could be some semblance of normalism come back into our life. Number 2, I would desire not to get rid of the 2 parties that we have that lead our country, but in addition of an additional 2 or 3 parties, therefore to make a more evenly balanced across the country, and therefore people to have more say in the government because they have completely forgot that they work for us. They believe somehow that we are their minions, and that has put the country kind of in the situation that we are right now. And number three, to kind of go along with what Shankar said, I don't want to live forever, but I would certainly like to make sure that I have enough knowledge that every day, whenever I have an opportunity to help others, that I can provide them the answers and, in my case, of course, the products that meet their needs without question, so that I know that I'm doing the best thing for every single person, because my knowledge is enough that I can certainly feel comfortable at night in knowing that I took the best care of every single person that I meet and that I deal with. So to review, get rid of the Rona, get us some additional parties that may have an opportunity to give us the government that we were truly designed as a country to have, and not the two parties now that do nothing but tussle with one another. And then, of course, just have the knowledge to help others the best I possibly can. That is the three things that I would desire the most at this time. Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Harlan. So no garlic or steak that I need to be walking around with while I'm around you.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I'll be happy with my allotted time here, whatever that is.
Well, all right. Hopefully it'll be a little bit longer now that the Rona won't be around with your wish list. Moving on, we have this question about what your goals are for the next 3 months, remembering that you can have anything, be anything, or do anything. What are your goals for the next 3 months?
I can answer that one, Madam Table Topics Master. For the next 3 months, my primary goal is a very practical work-related goal, in that we have at the college I work for an accreditation report for our 10-year reaffirmation due on March 1st, which is just under 3 months from now. So my primary goal over the next 3 months is to ensure that that happens successfully, because our ability to do that successfully dramatically impacts the ability of thousands of students to achieve their educational goals. And so I am very focused on that particular goal for the next 3 months. On a personal level, I have a goal of spending time with my kids and my husband and my other family that are in our immediate household, because I don't foresee that we will be out of COVID restrictions during the next 3 months. So we'll be focusing on spending a significant amount of quality time together as a family and enjoying as much time as we can outside in nature and enjoying the beautiful things we have to offer in the outdoors while we are spending those 3 months together. And so those are my goals for the next 3 months. Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you very much. Also very practical, and good to know your personal and professional goal, which is, as you said, exactly just under 3 months. But what about 1 year? Craig, you can have anything, be anything, do anything with no restrictions. What are your goals for a year by 2022?
Thank you, Madam Table Topics Master. Since we're obviously in fantasy land here, I can plan out my 2021 with abandon. First of all, there'd be copious amounts of travel. There's one place I want to go see, and that is Sedgefield, South Africa. Now, what in the world is in Sedgefield, South Africa, you might ask? There's a little church there that's called St. Francis Church. And somehow, about 3 years ago, I got put on their mailing list. I don't know how, I don't know why, but for the past 3 years, I've followed them through their trials and tribulations, and they've had some issues with their congregation and with their pastoral committees. And I asked a couple times to be removed from the list, but they did not remove me. And so what I want to do, almost more than anything someday, is go to Sedgefield, South Africa, and go to a service in that little church and just say hello to all my fellow parishioners who I feel like I've known for a long time. And along that way, I think I could capture something else that I like to think I do well, and that's tell a story. And I think within that flight, within that trip, within that journey to that little town right on the South African coast would be a marvelous tale to tell and memorialize for all time, hence leaving a little bit of immortality in this world. Madam Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Craig. I am interested in these copious amounts of newsletters that you have received that were unsolicited and yet must be entertaining nonetheless. And Laura, I am very impressed by your ability to change your own background while you are also giving your table topics, because it's hard for me to do that when I'm not giving table topics. So kudos. At this point, I would like to hand it back over to our Toastmaster of the evening. Thank you all for participating and happy 2021.
Thank you, Andrea. And now I'll call for the timers report. For Shankar, I have you at 2 minutes and 4 seconds for your table topics. For Craig, I have you at 1 minute and 39 seconds. Harlan at 1 minute and 50 seconds, and myself at 1 minute and 23 seconds. Now I'm going to turn the meeting over to our general evaluator for the evening, who is Shankar.
Thank you very much, Laura. We come to the part of the meeting where we give each other feedback on how we did, and we will kick this off with Harlan, who will give his evaluation of Craig's speech. Harlan?
All right, great. Thank you very much. Craig, as I'm sure you are aware, you are a pretty dadgum good speaker, sir. It's always wonderful to listen to what you have to say. Always great to hear more stories about the snoot. And of course, the little white cat that I see every now and then pop up on Facebook too. I have seen the little white cat loving on the snoot on Facebook, or maybe it was a picture you showed here now that I think about it. It could have been that. The one thing I would say about the snoot is, for someone uneducated about him, they didn't know what the heck you were talking about. So where it was a good filler in for here to talk about the snoot, if you were talking in a public area, then you might have to talk about exactly who the snoot was. It became pretty clear the other dog because you mentioned the other dog and talked about the size. But if you put 2 and 2 together, you realize who the snoot was if you were outside of our group. But that is one of the very, very small little things that I would say. While we are looking for anything and everything, and we live on this virtual world right now, I will say that the only thing that I did not like, and it's still an issue right to this second, is you have a lighting issue with where you speak at. It is whatever is behind you is very, the way, and it could just be on my screen, but you are lit up in a way that really your face is virtually invisible, Craig, because the light kind of comes around you and you're a floating beard. And it does give your hand motions are very easy to see. And I loved the smaller world but it is very interesting, the light, what it does. Once again, I don't know if other people see it the same way that I do, but the light kind of behind you and above you is not great. I would say this in the fact, if you were in a competition, it could be very distracting and not give a full range of facial expressions that you may bring into your speech, because you could not see those. You cannot really tell any facial expressions you have just because of the way the lighting is. Once again, we're talking about very nitpicky things here, because your speech was absolutely incredible. You did a great job. It was humorous the way it was supposed to. You gave us very vivid ideas of what was going on. It's wonderful that you go through the list of all these people that could be potential inspirations, and instead it's a 2-pound kitten. I love the way that you wrapped around that and got back to a 2-pound kitten is much more of an inspiration than an athlete, a politician, or an actor. And I would have to agree with you. I'm not even a cat person, but I can see that cat would be a greater inspiration for me right now than any of those above. Overall, as usual, buddy, an outstanding job. I appreciate you speaking and appreciate you sharing that story with us.
Thank you so very much, Harlan, for your evaluation. As for our second speaker of the night, we don't have anyone who focused on his evaluation. However, I know that in the past we have done a community evaluation. If anyone has some ideas they want to share, the moment for that is now.
Well, as you can imagine, I have thoughts. The number one thing, and this is, I struggle with this mightily. I have to concentrate. I have to think about it. And that's that little green light right there. And for your speech, you were oblique to your camera. So it was just a little bit of off to the side, which was kind of a little jarring. But that's something I think you can improve upon. I liked, from the like side, I like that you came up with that impromptu, kind of right on the spot. I wouldn't say it's 100% impromptu, because I bet you've been thinking about that for a little while now. But you were able to, in a short time, put together a fairly cogent 3-point speech and get those things together. But I think a couple of things to work on is that camera presence. And I'm going to say this for the umpteenth time: if Harlan's going to complain about my lighting, get wall treatments in that house, that apartment, because you echo and reverb so bad that it's really tinny and distracting. So it's just something to think about. I know it's not but you can do acoustic treatment very, very cheaply. And that's my nitpick. So I will close off and move on to the next person.
Thank you.
I did notice whenever you were transitioning between your 3 points, in particular between your first and second, you were a little stuttering there. You kind of had a little bit of a pause as you were making that transition. Once again, in a quickly put together speech, it's not surprising that you would have had a little hiccup. It was not bad. It was just slightly noticeable, because I know you and I've heard you speak so many times that little pause, that little time that you kind of spent trying to gather your thoughts again in the direction you were going to go was noticeable to me. It certainly wasn't something I don't believe too many people would have caught, but that is, other than what Craig said, that is one of the things that I heard. And I do understand what you're saying, Craig. It's very interesting how different homes make a little bit different sounds in different rooms. I know the room that I was in a minute ago, I could even tell from my own sound that it wasn't as good as my office was. Yeah, but that's a great point to make there, Craig.
Thank you very much, Harlan. All right, nothing else for Shankar's speech. Well, thank you so much. It's always great when we can have impromptu evaluations as well. That's really, really nice. Next is the timeless report. Miss Laura Sanchez, would you please give us the timeless report?
Yes, for Harlan, for your evaluation, I have you at 3 minutes and 7 seconds. And I didn't time the other two evaluations because they were impromptu, so I didn't assign time to them.
Thank you very much. We now come to our word counter and grammarians report. Harlan Pickett.
All right, great. Okay. Craig, you were copiously the winner of copious with 4 mentions of the word of the day. Great job. I love how you weaved it in just the right way. I also had Shankar and Andrea each with 2. Laura, I did not catch you using copious. If you did, I just missed it whenever I was moving about, which I apologize that I had to do today. But sometimes you just got other stuff going on. My apologies. As for the ums and ahs and grammarian issues, very, very clean meeting. Laura, I caught you in one little ah that you were not doing and kind of doing. You kind of slid right past it. So you caught yourself. Very good job. As an ah was a perfect place for right where you did it, but you stopped yourself from it. So excellent, excellent in avoiding the faux pas of the ah. But everyone had a very, very good, clean meeting today. I am always impressed with the quality of the speakers that we have. Everyone gets an A+ this evening.
Thank you so much, Harlan, for your WAG report. It is now the time where the general evaluator can look at the overall meeting. We started on time. Overall, it felt a little bit like we all needed to get back into the groove of having a meeting after our few meetings that we skipped. I like a lot how this meeting was representative for team spirit. We had a hiccup with the Pledge of Allegiance, someone stepped in. We had roles to be filled, people stepped in. We had an impromptu speaker and we had impromptu evaluations as well. That to me is really, if you will, the king class of Toastmastery, if we can deal eloquently with these unexpected circumstances that can happen in our meetings. I do think that, yeah, we had a few things such as the timer and table topics master. I believe these roles were introduced, but a little later than we typically do. Andrea did a good job with using a easy table topics set of questions that are very fitting for the new year. And again, we had very spontaneous speakers and evaluators tonight. So I do think that for a first speech of the year, it was a good meeting. And I'm sure we are back in the routine for our next meeting. And with that, I hand it back to our Toastmaster of the night. Also, don't forget there are polls in the chat section if you want to participate in that.
Thank you, Shankar. Next, we will close the meeting, but I do want to give everyone a minute or two to please fill out their polls. So if you have not done so yet, please take a moment to fill out your poll so that we can announce the winners for the speakers this evening. And also for the table topics this evening.
All right, while everyone's doing that, I want to take a minute to, once again, guys, I want to apologize for kind of being out of it. I just got a call that I was kind of hoping I wasn't going to get about an aunt that is in the hospital and they're taking off life support. So anyway, just been one of those days. Okay. We made it through 2020 as a group, and that was, I think, a pretty big landmark. You know, we talked a lot about this at the end of the year, that we had really made the change quickly and we moved over to a virtual platform. And I think that's pretty amazing. But without the leadership that we had, I don't think that would have been possible. One of the things that we had in mind was when we were going to be together, that I was going to present this wonderful plaque to our founding president. But we are not together, and it doesn't look like we will be in the soon future. But I will virtually now present this plaque to Shankar Poncelet, okay? Texas Tri-County Chamber Club, for dedicated service and outstanding leadership as our founding president. And since I see him at least every couple of weeks, I'll be happy to bring it by and personally hand it to you. But I just wanted to once again commend you for your outstanding job and leadership and helping us through our founding and then through the unprecedented time of having a club have to change completely everything that they do because of the unprecedented situation that we found ourselves in. But it was a great job by the leadership that made that happen. And we are very grateful to have had you lead us through that, Shankar. So once again, thank you very much. And I'll be bringing your plaque to you whenever I see you next time. But thank you for all that you do for the club, buddy.
Thank you so much, Harlan. I am speechless, although a Toastmaster should never be speechless. I felt so much gratitude and thankfulness from everyone when I ended my first term as the president. And I would just say that Toastmasters, at times, I know that it can be challenging and demanding in times where all of us who are either leaders in other fields or hold very important positions in their jobs are constantly pulled back on Mondays to contribute to this club. And I know what that means. And I'm really just grateful that everyone makes it possible and still shows up, even if during hard times it is just a few, but those few people make it happen. And we guarantee that this club is around for more people to grow and improve their leadership and public speaking skills in 2021, because I see a lot of interest from young members like Joko and Edgar, who joined recently, and the mission of Toastmasters is to help grow everyone, and I know that we will together make this possible. So thank you very much. I am very, very happy about this gesture that you have just presented to me, Harlan.
Thank you.
I'll look at the polls. And it looks like our best speaker of the night is Craig. Congratulations. And the best table topic of the night is also Craig. So it clearly shows, Craig, that you are the public speaking extraordinaire.
Excellent. The clean sweep. Great job, Craig. All right. Okay, let's talk about roles for next week. I currently have next week's meeting open. There is everything available. How about that? So if there is something that you would like to do next week, please let me know, and I will be happy to put your name down for it.
I'll speak again next week.
All right. Got Craig down as a speaker. I will go ahead and run the meeting next week, so I will be the Toastmaster. Andrea?
Well, I don't want to hog, but I'd like to be Toastmaster again. I mean, not Toastmaster, Table Topics Master.
Table topics. All right. Table topics. Andrea. Mr. Poncelet?
I'll speak.
Speaker. All right. It will be a replay of tonight. How about that?
I can do general evaluator.
General evaluator. All right. Excellent, Laura. Thank you.
And also I can evaluate one of the speeches if we need a second evaluator or
Okay.
a speaker evaluator.
Okay. We'll go ahead and just leave it right here with all those roles